Hey everybody, this is Jeff. I had a friend of mine wanted me to explain to a couple of people. They sit on the opposite side of the bench as I do on a lot of different things, but they're very, very good friends of mine. I want to explain where a couple of my viewpoints come from on why I believe that we need to be good to everybody and why it's in our best interest. And a lot of people have actually heard this story before. Some people haven't. But when I was 5 years old, or not 5 years old, when I was going into the 5th grade, I went to the public school system for the very first time. My entire family went to the Catholic school system. I love my family more than anything else. And I hope maybe this story will help a few of you out there try to find whatever it is that you're needing or looking for, okay? And I was taken to Baldwin Elementary School. I got held back in the 5th grade, and I was taken to Baldwin Elementary School. And I went in there with a family member of mine that was not keen on the idea that I was going to be going to the public school system. In fact, their exact wording were, don't get messed up with too many guns and try not to do too many drugs. I was 10 years old at the time. And, you know, here I had a person in my family not supporting me going to the public school system. However, with my mom dying, I went to the public school system. I met a man, a very honorable man by the name of Dr. Patrick McGinley. Okay, Dr. McGinley, he was a doctor of education. He loved Russian history. He loved all of our veterans and everything like that. But as I got older, I helped him with his swimming with muscular dystrophy. And believe it or not, I learned a lot about the MS. I learned a lot about muscular dystrophy through him. Now, he was already probably 50s when I met him. The nicest guy in the entire world. Anyway, I every year since I learned to swim and everything else, it was kind of funny because I was never in the extra smart classes. You know, I had Mr. Keith Kessler was the first male teacher I ever had. Really nice guy. Couldn't ask for anything better. I had Mrs. Simons as a math teacher. Later on, Mrs. Latour came from St. John's, the school I came to when I went into the 6th grade, when I had Mrs. Harborn, and she had Mrs. Simons' class. And like I had Mrs. Black, and that's when Mrs. Hummelshine. Now, what does this have to do with anything? So as I got over, Dr. McGinley knew I liked to swim and everything else, and so I'd go out to Sheridan and I'd swim with him because he needed help getting in and out. And him and I talked day in and day out. You know, everybody thought, you know, that he could radicalize me, I guess. I didn't know what they meant by that at the time. It was just an inside joke because he was extremely one-sided when it came to how the government is and stuff. Well, as a kid, you don't know that kind of stuff. You don't understand that kind of stuff. I learned a lot of the history that I love today from Dr. McGinley. So as I got older, got into high school and everything else, he actually came out to the high school. And when he came out to the high school, he was teaching history out there, so I joined the history club. I went to a lot of Civil War reenactments and everything because he asked us if we wanted to go. I got into a lot of different clubs I never in a million years thought I'd get into. But I really enjoyed history when I was being taught by people that, like, he would always talk about him going to Russia, him going to these other countries. He was big with the Boy Scouts and stuff like that. So now fast forward to where, okay, we're in high school and everything else, and now I'm still helping him at Sheridan, and I was helping him at the YMCA. He would do laps in the pool all the time, and he would always ask if I'd come help him. He needed help getting in and out of the pool. Never really understood it, but it was so he wouldn't fall in the locker room because he didn't have any muscle in his legs. Now, how does this have anything to do with how people see the world and how people, they can have a great debate and a great argument with always remaining friends? When I got back from the Marine Corps, one of the first people that welcomed me back, one of the first people that, like, hey, how you doing? Let's go, you know, was Dr. McGinley. And one of the reasons why I started doing a lot of helping and volunteering and everything else, besides from my dad, of course, was Dr. McGinley. He asked me to do a little help here and there. He belonged to the NRA, but he was a Democrat, and he was actually kind of more on the liberal side of things. It was kind of funny, but years before, he had me read a paper in front of the Breakfast Optimist Club when I was in 6th grade. I got to read a paper in front, and I never knew that later on in life I'd be helping out with some of the soapbox derbies and everything else. And he always taught me history. He didn't teach me left or right. He didn't teach me Democrat or Republican. He taught me history. And I knew a lot of people. Mr. Frigo taught me social studies. I had, I can tell you every one of the teachers I've ever had. Okay, we had Klimstra and all those teachers. They were all great teachers. However, when I got into the Marine Corps and actually created history, 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines actually created history down in Panama. We were deployed during 9/11, you know. There was always something going on. When I came back, I made friends with a history professor, one of the mentors I had while I was in Western Illinois University and everything else. And this is one of my later business partners. And I saw Dr. McGinley. He's like, hey, how you doing? Well, I was out with one of my business partners. That was helping me with one of my first brick and mortar buildings and stuff. And this history teacher was a politician. Like, he was big on politics. And he actually got into it with Dr. McGinley one day at Home Depot when we were over there. And I couldn't figure out why. And so I felt bad, and I actually told him, I was like, don't you ever talk to my friends like that. That's just not cool. You know, I didn't like, he's like, well, he's just, I'm like, I don't care that I side with you on stuff. You don't talk to my friends and disrespect them like that. And later on, needless to say, I got rid of that business partner because he was just crazy. But on the other hand, he insulted one of my friends. Not just somebody that had different viewpoints than everybody, but one of my friends. But I talked to Dr. McGinley about it later on. He's like, you know, here's the problem. A lot of people, he goes, I have my viewpoints on things and I have history on things. He goes, but friendships, you know, that's what makes them some of the greatest in the world. And, you know, when he died, you know, knowing that he was extremely left and me, I go the other way, you know what I'm saying? I have my own viewpoints. And him and I argued all the time. But I looked forward to those arguments. I look forward to talking to my friend. And I have a lot of friends that we don't see eye to eye with each other, but I love being around them. I love, you know, granted, seriously, it gets ugly sometimes. But no matter what, they're still my friends. When Dr. McGinley died, you know, I broke down and I cried because my friend died. And to this day, it still hurts me that my friend died. You know what? I didn't care what his political affiliation was. My family are Reagan Democrats, okay? And guess what? They have viewpoints on both sides of everything, but they never judge anybody based on politics. Can I argue politics? Yes. Do I know a lot about actual history and everything else? Yes, I do. And do I bring it up a lot? Oh, yeah, I can't help it. It's just who I am. But one of the things is, what makes my friends great is they don't side with me. They may like Trump. They may not like Trump. They may like politics. They may hate politics. They may be left. They may be right. But they're my friends. And they're my family. And I am grateful that they have these opinions. Me, you know, I have my viewpoints on things. And yes, I grew up in a Catholic family with a belief system. And it's kind of funny because my belief system's almost identical to what some people in my family went to the Catholic school system is. But they no longer have that belief system. It's just kind of funny. And these are ongoing internal jokes and everything. But the one time I got mad was, I know Pat was extremely left. Okay? And at times I am right or neutral in the middle. And I like to stay in the middle because I like to hear both sides of the argument. But I always say there's three sides. There's their side, the other side, and then there's the truth. And a lot of times, you know, if you want to keep your country going in the right direction, you got to keep an even balance. I get that. And even though Pat was left, it broke my heart when he died. And then I had several other people die that were extremely right and extremely left, and it broke my heart. I mean, literally. So these people mattered, and I didn't want anybody being negative. I don't mind a great debate. And I don't mean people arguing. They don't even care if people hang up on each other or walk out or whatever else. I've seen that all the time. They still come back and they buy each other a drink. It's not a big deal. But in the end, they understand that that's their friend. And no matter what, they're actually listening to each other. That's why they get mad. They're actually listening. It's just one person thinks they know better than the other person. And in the end, we all still do things together. You know, I still helped him with his muscular dystrophy. I still, you know, made sure that, you know, to this day, people know who he is. And it wasn't because of I didn't believe his political viewpoints. It was because as a person, he was awesome. And he always had his facts together. And he basically would never say anything that he didn't feel was untrue. And he always reminded me, Jeff, whenever you do something, do not listen to the news. He goes, it'll corrupt you. Now, he was extremely left, and he said, don't listen to the news. Because he knows this. You got to get your sources from many different sources, even if you have to look outside the realm. And he was talking maybe like look at the British news sources sometimes, maybe look at a different newspaper sometimes, maybe read some articles. He goes, but go and find out for yourself. That's what separates us from everybody else, is when we actually develop an opinion of our own and are able to defend those opinions with facts and history. You cannot change history to make it to who we are. And I've always respected him for that. And I see people, and I know that politics is coming up right now and everything else. And what I try to tell everybody is, it doesn't matter what your belief system is. It doesn't matter who you're going for or anything else. Make sure you got your facts in order. Make sure that you look at several different sources. Don't just go off of what somebody tells us. We have brains, you know? And I've had teachers and professors and everybody else who I look at like, are you kidding me? And then you go look up the facts and it turns out they're wrong because they were going off of some article somewhere that meant nothing. If you want to have an opinion, that's great. But you don't have to shut people out because their opinion separates from yours. The reason why my Facebook is the way it is because my friends will always have a platform, no matter who they are. I don't care if they're gay, straight, bisexual, transsexual. I don't care if they're Republican. I don't care if they're Democrat. I don't care if they're Tea Party. I don't care if they're Libertarian. Okay? I have friends that believe in socialism. I have some friends that believe in communism. Of course, I will argue with them till I'm blue in the face, and they will know it, but I'll still always have a meal with them. I will still always go out and shake their hand, give them a hug, and let them know they matter. I will still be there for them. We have to protect each other and each other's rights. Like I was telling a friend of mine the other day, you may not always agree with somebody else's opinion, but you must defend their rights to have it. And how are you ever going to know anything else if you don't hear another side of the story? If you're just trapped in one little area all the time, and all you do is you hear the same thing, how are you ever going to know that there may be another way out there? Everybody is important, and we must learn that. Everybody has a voice, and we must learn that. In the Marine Corps, every one of us was different. And yes, this boils back down to the Marine Corps. Every single Marine I knew was different. They followed orders, sometimes. They moved forward, they pushed ahead, and when we got out, I don't miss their politics, I miss them. I don't miss the games we played in the Marine Corps, I miss my brothers. I don't miss the long waits we had. I miss the adventures we had. And I don't care what their viewpoints are. I will defend their viewpoints till I'm blue in the face, whether I agree with them or not, because that is their right. And I love them. And I always want them to know that they will always have a home and a platform. They will always have a person in me to make sure to listen to them. Whether I believe them or whether or not I agree with them is a completely different thing. But I can at least be that friend to them that's like, okay, I may not agree with you. I may have to agree to disagree. Or we have to agree to that. We're going to have to step away from each other for a minute and get really ticked. Marines, basically we'll do tap out. That's the winner. But in the end, it comes down to this. They have that right. And on my platforms, and who I am and who they are matter to me. And I don't want people to agree with everything I say or do. I don't want people around that sit there and hold on to every word I say. It's got to be religious. No. You know what I do want people to hang on to? I want them to look in the mirror every day and tell themselves they matter. I want people to go push themselves every single day to go further and farther than what they're at right now. I want people to get out of their boxes and go out and do something and be somebody. I want somebody that is not held down, but if they are, they get back up, brush themselves off, and learn from their failures, learn from their defeats, and go out and win. Guess what? That's everybody. I want people to know that it does not matter the color of the freaking skin, whether or not they are male or female or transsexual or side with something. I want them to know that if they go out there and push hard, work harder than everybody else, eventually they'll be noticed. There is nothing in our society for free. We have freedoms: freedom of speech, freedom the right to bear arms, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion. Okay? We